Hello, I'm feeling better. I have been doing my raw food now for a week and I'm feeling a whole lot better health wise and I'm losing some weight and I have a little bit more energy and it will get better and I'm probably gonna be shedding 80 pounds. So it's not that easy for me to give that up psychologically because I used it as my protecting shield. But and it's kind of ironic because people who are fat they get ridiculed much easier than people who are thin. So, but it's still this is a very tough psychological trauma, and it's more visceral than anything else than it is logical. So yeah, but I somehow feel less vulnerable when I'm fat, but I have no other choice. It is either that or get a heart attack or get real serious heart problems. And I am not going under the knife. Ever. I'm not going to do it for any reason. Neither for health reasons nor cosmetic reasons. And I'm not going to make any one of my proteges go through that either. I am a complete health oriented person. I am for holistic healing, I'm for natural healing, and I'm for natural lifestyles. That's the only healthy solution for all of us, for planet Earth. And if emotions will come up when I lost the 80 pounds, and they will come up, then I will deal with it. Then I will have to give myself affirmations or might have to write something down on a piece of paper like I am worthy of love and I am an equal. I'm not a second class citizen. I am equal to everybody and I have things to contribute. I am precious and so on. I will have to write that down and I have to look at this every day because when I grew up, I was not showered with those types of affirmations. Quite the opposite. And I think that was probably the most damaging thing that happened to me as a child when I was discouraged. Not just not encouraged, but I was deeply discouraged with often very indirect discouragement. But it has to do with my parents not being informed, and it has to do with their neuroses. Okay? In particular, my mother. And I know that she is not conscious about this at all. She doesn't mean to hurt me, but she has unresolved issues, and they came out when I was a child. She was not ready to have children, would probably have never been ready to have children, but she did. She should have become a judge, that's what she wanted to become, and that would have been a whole lot more fulfilling for her. She would have been probably a very good judge. So she was all for justice and everything. But because of her own instabilities and unresolved issues that she has carried with her from her own childhood, she was not able to be fair and give us justice, us children. Particularly, I suffered under it the most. My brother came later, 5 years later, and he lucked out because he had a really great nanny to take care of him. And I had really bad nannies. So it was terrible. I even said that to one of them. I said, "You need to be burned." I was 4 years old. So yeah, and then later on I realized that she has come from a dysfunctional household and she didn't know better. She was also the result of her childhood. But it was all extremely dramatic and painful, and I'm not going to get into the details of it. I have carried with me unbelievable horror thoughts and nightmares from my childhood that keep on coming up over and over and over again, and I have to deal with it. I don't have any other choice. But I know now that I'm not going to deal with it by eating chocolate. So, and that was my way of dealing with it in the past 49 years, and I'm not willing to do this anymore. So you want to live your life as pure as you can. You want to go completely pure. And I see this as something that is going to be celebrated in the future. I see this coming into fashion, and it will become a lifestyle, it will become a fad, and much more than that. But if that's a fad, it's a better fad than any other fads, of course. It's a whole lot better than the dead corpse on public toilet fad by Calvin Klein, I would say. So, and I think that's where we need to be heading to, and then things will balance themselves out. And it has to do with a lot of introspection. People need to introspect, particularly young people that are easily falling for fads and for what is depicted as grown up or sexy or rebellious or whatever. So the teenage years, they're very critical years, and I think it is very important that people get the right education and also the right inspiration and the right mentors for themselves. And there's a number of amazing mentors out there: Pema Chodron, Adyashanti, Eckhart Tolle, Tony Robbins. There are quite some amazing people out there. So I recommend all of those. And also the teachings by Jiddu Krishnamurti. He is no longer alive, but his teachings are there in recordings. And so they're all there on YouTube for everybody to watch. They're amazing. They helped me through a panic attack. It is unbelievably amazing and great. I'm deeply grateful to Jiddu Krishnamurti. I see him as the Buddha. The medical industry needs to be reformed together with the prison system and the way people are handled in hospitals and in schools and kindergarten and all these different institutions. And religion needs to take a step back into private sector, private institutions, groups, and charities, and so on. So religion needs to get out of public institutions. It needs to get out of public schools or any schools, as a matter of fact. I went to a private school called the Waldorf School back then in Germany, and the religion part that was involved into it was meant well by Rudolf Steiner. He wanted to, because Rudolf Steiner grew up in that nihilist movement at the turn of the century. He was introduced to the Theosophical Society and Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, and he learned more about the Far Eastern religions and that they had much more to say. And so then later on he decided, okay, we need to make peace, but it's a little bit tricky, all of this. He wanted to make peace, and he wanted to unite everybody. He wanted to unite the atheists and the nihilists and the Christians and all the other religious people. And so that's when he founded the Waldorf School. it was well meant, but when the public isn't ready for this yet, when there's always this tendency to flock into this or that group, it's always this separation going on. It's never emerging, you know. It's never an emulsifying of society that is going on, and we still see it today. It's just the tendency is always to flock apart and to flock together with just specific people and then create a front, you know, and then they have to go against another with words or with weapons. And it can only be dissolved when people are slowly introduced to introspection, meditation, and to contemplation over what they really want, what life is really all about. So when I went to school, I was confronted also with the Bible stories because of this private school, and so I have seen it basically firsthand, a lot of those things that I'm talking about, and in a way it was probably beneficial that I have seen it firsthand, because otherwise I probably would not be knowing in detail what I'm talking about if I had just learned it in theory. Some of the things I have only learned in theory, but some of the critical things I probably needed to see it from the inside. And I needed to step back from the big picture and introspect and overlook over the entire situation and see how everything is interconnected and why this or that doesn't work out. What went wrong here? Why did it go wrong? What happened? Was it the wrong timing? Were people not ready? You know, how was it presented to the public? And all of these things that I'm beginning now to understand. So I learned fairly early in my life that religion really has no place in a school, that it makes no sense at all. It makes really no sense to anybody, but people accept it because an authority drilled them into it, drilled it into them, drilled them into that template, basically. You know. So that's why it is not questioned, because it comes from some authority. That's why I tell people, what is authority? Who is authority here? Nobody is authority. And a lot of people, they want this authority. They feel safer that way because then they don't feel like they are losing the ground under their feet. A lot of people, they would not know how to live without somebody actually giving them a guideline, you know, a railing or crutches to hold on to so that they know, you know, it's like, I shine the light for your path, like in the Bible, you know. Somebody always has to shine that light. Everyone needs to begin to shine their own light onto the path. We need to learn to walk without crutches, without guidelines. We need to develop compassion within ourselves. And once we have compassion, we shine our own light onto our path. We will see. When you have compassion, you will see which is authentic and which is not, which is honesty and humbleness and kindness and giving, and which is deception and lies and greed. It is very easy for me to discern those things when I look at anything in life. Back then it just felt bad, but I couldn't really describe it, or it wasn't really totally conscious yet. But today I feel it, and it is absolutely discernible and clear, and it is absolute distinct from one another for me. It's like looking at my computer and this suitcase it's standing on. So here's the computer, here's the suitcase. You know, here is like turquoise and here is red. You know, I see these two separate distinct colors and lines, and that's how I look at life too. And that's what we all need to learn to be able to do, to see through things, to see through propaganda, and not be swept up by that. You know. And that's what the corporations want. They want people to be dependent. That's also another reason why they want people to be on drugs. Because when you're on drugs, you can't discern that much. You can't think that much. You're in a fog. They want people to be in a fog, and they want people to be jealous, and they want people to be feeling inadequate about themselves. They want people to feel stupid and all of that, so that they can sell you their products, their drugs, and all of that. And now the lawnmower came on, and I'm going to have to close this presentation up. The medical industry must be reformed, and people need to be taught how to take responsibility for their own health, because this is not happening, and of course the corporations don't want people to be responsible. Pay attention to all of this. The more you pay attention, the more you will see, and it's not some kind of Illuminati shape-shifting conspiracy that's going on. No. It is what Friedrich Nietzsche was talking about. It's human, all too human. Read his books. Yeah. That's human nature, and chimpanzees and humans are the most violent animals on planet Earth, and that's how it has evolved. Okay, there's only a few exceptions within both species, and these exceptions, they could evolve away from the others, you know, if we give it time and if the separation remains in some way. Hillary Clinton has rational sense, and we need to vote for someone like this who can bring us to the path of progress. Bliss off.